Well, hello, everybody. Good morning. A little early, a couple minutes early before the show goes live on all the platforms. But this is Lowell White, your host of 360 Performance, talking to you on KUHSdenver.com every Friday, 11 a.m. Hope you're having a great day. I'll put the headphones back on in a sec. I've got to pick up the record on other platforms. But today we're going to talk about removing the negatives. And we're going to highlight a lot of different things regarding March Madness with basketball, Major League Baseball, lots of dollars going out, contract negotiations right now. And my guy, Curtis Granderson, he got on the roster. He fulfilled his non-roster invitation. He's got a contract for this season. We're also going to talk about the NFL draft is coming up. Just to give you some highlights, we'll talk about that more specific terms later on. But that's kind of where we're at. So let's get going. Be right back, everybody. On one? Okay, I moved it, so I'm moving back. Always on good. I thought it was over on two. There we go. Good. We're good, people. We're good. Okay. All right, levels up. Here we go. Facebook, hello, everybody. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Lowell Whiteman here, your host of 360 Performance Talk. Every Friday, KUHSdenver.com. Look, I've got to have some good sounds go out to my friend Henry, because you know what? Every day is a new chapter in our life, but you never know who's going to write it, or how it's going to be written, or what adjectives are going to be used to describe it. So take it one word, one step, one moment at a time, and enjoy every piece of it, no matter how it affects your internal organs. That's inside joke. Inside joke for Henry. Okay, so good morning, everybody. We're going to talk a little bit about some wonderful things happening in the world of sports and entertainment and life. It's mad. It's March Madness. The last couple of weeks of March Madness. We're having some fun. Turn it, because stuff happens with the people that watch and listen to music and my talking. So that was the beginning of the end of Funky Nassau. But that being said, it's off. It's down, and we're rocking. We're doing what we need to do every day on KUHSdenver.com. In the last 15 minutes of today's show, we're going to bring in Stephanie Ajakian, my favorite massage therapist. She's going to talk to us a little bit about processes of connection with the mind, body, and spirit to start your day with a great massage, and what its impact is going to be. And hold on, I'm looking at the monitor. Okay, there we go. Just make sure I'm looking good for today. For you all out there that are watching. And if you're not watching, I always look good. I've got a face made for radio. That's just the reality of it. So, getting things set for this morning. Great day in Colorado. A little overcast, but spring, the first day of spring started off well this last early part of the week. I don't know which day it was, Monday or Tuesday. Maybe it was Wednesday. I don't remember. But spring began this week. A big swing into spring, especially with March Madness. Our show today is dedicated, our theme is about removing the negatives. Now, I say that understanding that you're not always in control of the removal process. So a 50% step towards that removal is just recognizing that it's coming. The negative is coming, because that means you're self-aware. And self-awareness is huge in any endeavor, but especially in those areas of performance that you're looking for great outcomes. You're looking to perform at your best at all times. So self-awareness is a huge, huge component of creating a mindset. And that's our first segment, as it is every Friday at 11 o'clock. And good morning, Steve. Awesome, Steve, that you're with me today. Good to have you with me, Steve Boyle. Good to have you with me. To remove those negatives, being aware that they are there. You don't always have control of it, but that self-awareness is huge in taking that first step and identifying where the negatives are. As I've said before, if you can remove the negatives. Now remember, this is an alternative mindset for me because I just got so frustrated over the years of constantly talking about the positives, constantly examining the positives. And I still do that, but not as the first step, because too often the people I was talking to were having a difficult time discovering where the positives were because the negatives were so overwhelming. So I said, hold on, flip that mindset over, and let's get after the negatives, identify those, strategically think about removing them, if not absolutely removing them, but relying on that self-awareness as a key first step to do that, because what's left over? Positive. Worst case scenario is neutral. Neutral, just kind of, it is what it is. Carry on with life as it has always been for me. That's what's the great thing about this revelation for me. That self-awareness about where are the negatives, removing those negatives is huge. And that's our show's theme today as we jump into our mindset segment here in a minute. But before we do that, let me give you some NFL updates and some news on the NFL. So at this time of year, it's very, very busy with a lot of different sports that I work with and the business side of the sports. And one of those business sides that the NFL has is the draft week, and being prepared to find the next the next Pro Bowler, the next outstanding franchise player for your organization, whoever that might be. And the draft is important to that. Well, but with the draft, you need to have some entertainment. So this year, the NFL, it's just so fitting because the location of this year's draft is Nashville, Tennessee. What better place than Nashville to have some entertainment for? So this year, Dierks Bentley and 14 Nashville-based acts, that's A-C-T-S, not acts, A-X, but acts, performers, are announced as additional participants for the draft. And Dierks Bentley is part of them. Bentley is a multi-platinum singer-songwriter. And here's the other. It's a 4-letter word, free. It's going to be a free outdoor concert series with the NFL draft at the St. Jude Rock and Roll Marathon and Half Marathon on April 27th. So we're going to have some physical activity. We're going to have some music along with it. It's going to be a great, great thing to have happen for the NFL draft. Now, in a minute, as I'm perusing my schedule here, April 25th. That's when it starts, April 25th. So join if you can, and it's going to be it's going to be televised as well. But here are some of the folks that are going to be it's presented, and this NFL draft experience with the concert, the marathon, the half marathon is presented by Oikos 000. And it's outside the Nissan Stadium is where all these activities are going to happen. This includes a country American artist, Raylan Baxter is going to be there. The pop and indie rock artist, Mickey Echo. Another country, Charlie Worsham is going to be there. We got some good folks showing up. And the city of Nashville is really stepping up this. The mayor, David Briley, is going to be part of the festivities. So it starts on, kind of gets rolling on the 25th, but it really gets rocking with, here, this is great. The headliner for the first day, and Wendell, you should be aware of this. Good morning, Wendell. Thanks for showing up with me. Didn't go fishing, did you? Ah, that's okay. Be with me instead of fishing's okay. That's a compliment because you made a good choice. Me instead of fishing. Okay, anyway, this is another good choice. Tim McGraw is going to be showcased on Friday, and then it goes right into Dierks Bentley on Saturday. And just listen to this lineup. It's going to be Willie Jones is going to be there. Kid Politics, Jesse Wilson, Charles Worsham, Johnny P, who's a soul singer, Raylan Baxter, Katie Schechter, who's a rock and roll and soul singer. That's on the Saturday, the 27th. The 27th, Friday and Saturday are great times to be there. Lots of great stars are going to be there. So that's kind of the lineup for that. And everything starts on Thursday at around noon on the 25th. And then the music and stuff kicks in on Friday at noon again. Now this is contrary. Saturday at 9 a.m. Boy, who's going to get up at 9 a.m. on Saturday? Well, they probably will. Now, during that time frame, there's also going to be an autograph stage for any of the NFL players that will be there, as well as getting any autographs from those rookies that you found exceptional as college players who are going to show up. Some autographing there, as well as they're going to have Vince Lombardi trophy there, so you can get your picture taken with the Vince Lombardi trophy. That's kind of cool. And they're going to have some combine kind of activities. The NFLPA combine. It's called the Combine Corner. So you can show your best at the 40-yard dash, the vertical jump, and just have some fun. Be active, like a participatory process. Now, speaking of participatory, let's think about this. Some NFL teams made some franchise picks, and those they named a few of them for capping their percentage averages. Exclusive franchise players is a documented description in the Player Association handbook, if you will. And specifically, if you need to know this, Article 10, Section 2, A through I, and defines the franchise tender scenario. There are 6 players, and what's interesting to me, the 6 players, it's really kind of interesting who the 6 players are by position. Most of it is defense. Defensive tackle, Atlanta Falcons. Grady Jarrett is a franchise player. DeMarcus Lawrence, defensive end, Dallas Cowboys. Jadeveon Clowney. Jed is a linebacker, as everybody knows, Houston Texans. Kansas City, D Ford, another linebacker. But here's one, Robbie Gould, San Francisco 49ers, a kicker. How many key playoff games were decided by a kick or the lack thereof by some kickers? Those are some of your franchise players in the NFL that was announced on March the 5th. Now, if you're going to be an NFL player, you want to deliver some results. Well, there are some players, usually the contract stuff hits the press. Who's got the big contracts? Like I just showed you, the franchise players and the amounts of money that they are going to get as franchise players, the $1 million deals, multi-million-dollar deals as franchise players. In a minute, we're going to talk about baseball because I don't know that football is matching up to the multi-million-dollar deals that some of the baseball players are knocking down these days. It's just outrageous what's going on there. But those journeyman players, it's called high performance based pay, and it's a great process. I know a few of the guys that I work with. They love being a 3-dimensional player. What I mean by that is special teams, offense, defense. Now, there's not, if any, offense and defensive players, but triple threats from a pace side of things. Because if you're a special teams guy and you help your special teams lead the league in any particular stats, you get extra bumps, whether it's from the team or from the league. The league in the performance-based pay offers just basically you just show up. You get in the game for special teams. You get in the game for any aspect of special teams. How many times you start, how many times you get to replace somebody and get quarters and minutes of quarters. Well, here's Here's the kind of money. Here's the top 5 players, and the money they made extra on top of what their contracts were. Now remember, many of these men, their contracts are not anywhere near this extra pay. They're far less. Like Matt Sakura, who's with Baltimore, he's a center. Well, he joined the league in 2016, and he was an undecided free agent, and he made last year $395,000 as extra pay. This kid's close to my heart. Austin Blythe with Iowa. He was an Iowa player. Again, offensive player, a guard. He made $380,000. They're the top 2 guys in extra pay money. Number 3, Jess Davis from Miami. You want to guess what position, what side of the ball he's on? Offense. He's a guard. And he made $374,000, almost $75,000 last year as extra money. And then there's Jayon Brown with the Tennessee Titans, and he's an inside linebacker. This is he just completed he will have completed his second year this last season, 2018. He started in 2017-2018 seasons. He made $373,000. And this is his 5th year in the league. Number 5, another defensive player, LA Rams, is Corey Littleton. And Corey, it just amazes me. Again, fairly young players in the league. He was drafted. Of the 5, 3 of them were undesignated free agents and had to try out, so they made the team. Well, Corey Littleton made $371,000 last year for extra money. Extra money. A couple of notes on from the veteran pool of players that were drafted. We have 2 Denver guys, Connor McGovern and Justin Simmons. Justin Simmons is a free safety, and once again, offense. Connor McGovern stepped in as a guard often enough. They both made over $140,000 a year extra, in addition to their contracts. It's just amazing. So here, let me give you an idea with Matt Sakura. So Matt Sakura made $395,000 of extra pay. That, combined with his contract, earned him $533,000. That means his contract was $137,000. He made more in extra pay because of his performance, which I love. Performance-based compensation. That's awesome. Awesome stuff. But almost 3 times plus his base contract. Amazing, amazing stuff. As I said to you, we're going to shift gears now. March Madness. We are mad in March. It's great stuff. Here are some things to take note. If you didn't watch the tournament, what was happening, I'm constant like this. My thumb is going crazy between 4 different stations. You know, the tournaments are on TBS, TNT, True TV, and CBS. Those 4 networks do a wonderful job. TNT anchor and CBS anchor all the programming. It's really, really a quality job. Whoever the teams are that are behind that, and removing the negatives, as our theme goes. Well, here's some negatives that were removed. For Murray State, for example. Now, I've got like 4 different pools. Not pools. I've done 4 brackets with NCAA website. I did 2 brackets with CBS and 1 with ESPN. And I should have just picked Murray State throughout all of them. I didn't, thinking that maybe Marquette would come through, right? No, because Jay Morant, the kid is just, I hesitate to say he's unstoppable, but the kid is just phenomenal. Another triple-double for the kid. Now, he didn't score his average, but what's interesting to me, he created let me get this right. He created 32 points just because of his assists. 16 assists and 17 points for himself and 11 rebounds. So that stat, when you look at it carefully, he's an offensive contributor, not just an offensive machine. He contributes to his teammates to get them open, and quite honestly, has to be a pretty good passer to do it. So regretful to Marquette, they lost to Murray State 83-64. Now, that being said, another person and team to watch is Warford. Fletcher McGee, he tends to drop a few threes, and Warford, they played a great game and came away with a win. And what's more, and their opponent is going to be less notable in that win that they had than who they're going to play. They're going to play Kentucky. And that's going to be very interesting because Kentucky lost one of their key players. P.J. Washington is out with an ankle that seriously, very painful to him post the injury. I'm sure they're going to exercise as much technology and therapy using the most current technology to help him through it. So we'll wait and see if P.J. Washington, they play on Saturday at 2:40 Eastern Time on CBS. That's the last of the Jacksonville brackets. Then they'll move after that to another location. But Kentucky, Kentucky it's going to be interesting. The mindset of Kentucky going into this next game tomorrow against Wolford. They beat Abilene fairly handily. Now they didn't come away, obviously, P.J. Washington, knee ankle situation. They had another one of their big men. I forget his name. He took one heck of a hard fall on a flagrant foul by an Abilene player trying to make a box out. Well, tried to box him out in midair. That's going to create a hard fall for somebody who's being boxed out while they're in the air, and they tend to fall unassisted to the floor. And he came up and shot his foul shots after that, so it looked like he was okay and continued to play the game. But I'm bringing this up because there's going to be perhaps a little bit of false sense of security. Now, that being said, Coach Calipari is one of the best, if not the best, in preparing his team for whatever they anticipate the competitor to bring to them. Now, they know that Fletcher McGee is going to bring down the rain from the arc ring of three-point land. The kid just is unconscious for the Terriers. The kid has shot 505 career three-pointers, and that's pushing, if not already surpassed, Steph Curry's mark that he did while he was in college. But watch them at 2:40 Eastern Time on CBS Saturday. So 2:40. Let me see if my math. It would be 12:40. 2 hours difference. 12:40 on Saturday. I think I got that right. To watch that game. It's going to be a good game. Watch McGee present his magic. The next one that was interesting, there are a lot of interesting things going on with the NCAA March Madness. And the next one of note for me is Villanova, incoming NC2A champs. They won their game, but not handily. Now, that being said, I'm not saying they should have in the first round, because typically the number one seed gets not an easy play, but someone who could, like what Kentucky got. But they snuck by with the win, 61-57, against St. Mary's. And remember, St. Mary's won their tournament beating Gonzaga, who Gonzaga, by the way, is doing quite well in the NCAA. But regretfully, St. Mary's has got a great team. Two big men that are outstanding. They've got 2 point guards. One of the point guards is a walker, Kaus, and he's just got great court sense and great basketball intelligence. But regretfully, they did not slip by Villanova. Villanova gave them a challenge, and in the second half, they put on quite a run to take care of that. Now, that being said, let's see here. I don't. Should I read out loud to you? Is that what? It's okay. I won't do that anymore. Then there was another game with New Mexico State versus Auburn. Auburn again. You'd think that they would have just plowed through, but New Mexico State gave them a run for their money in their game. bringing it right down to the wire. Now, going into the tournament, there were the number one picks, but then there's the comments that prognosticators make about, who's the most athletic team, who's the most talented athletic team, who has the greatest chance of going to the Final Four and then to the finals. Well, Virginia's name keeps coming up. Virginia's mentioned all the time. Well, that being said, they've got their work cut out for them. They've got to keep plugging away, because last year I think they were number one seed and they got beat by UMBC. So it's important to stay focused as you bring your team to play. Now, there's no question they have quite the talented team, and their historical mistakes are yet to be erased. So there could be some motivation there for Virginia as they look at the past and say, we're not going to let that happen again. And quite honestly, that would be the classic way to use failure as a way to not only motivate you, but to give you the roadmap on how to get it done. And let's hope that Virginia does that. Now, I have to admit, I didn't pick Virginia to go very far. I think there's some other more mentally tough teams like Michigan State. I really like what Tom Izzo is doing. Now, that being said, Tom Izzo took some shots by announcers, more from the youthful announcers than the more seasoned announcers. Tom Izzo has a old school way of doing things, and I'm as a player myself. When I was a player, I wasn't thrilled about a coach coming at me with their finger. I was raised in the day when I did play football in high school. Coaches grabbing the face mask, now that's a no-no anymore. But that finger wagging, that's almost the equivalent, depending on how aggressive you get with it, to the grab the face mask in football. And Tom was pretty excited during the game that they were winning handily to some of his players. And when you look at the huddle, if you know Tom Izzo and have watched his techniques both in practice and in game, you see that he's the same person every single time. And his players respond to that in like-kind manner. They know his style. They know where his heart's at. They know how much he loves them and appreciates who they are as people. And quite honestly, the young man that he was wagging his finger at half court as they came off the floor at a timeout, he came back and made some key shots during the game. So whether you agree or disagree with Tom's methods, they work because he's transparent. The kids know where he comes from. A lot of that kind of emotion is flying around during the NCAA tournament. So we're in our mindset segment. We finished up that. We're moving into our skills segment. And as I said before, we're going to have our guest is going to come in, Stephanie Ajakian, massage therapist par excellence. But before I do that, I want to touch base on Major League Baseball notes. As we talk about the skills section, remember, skills section is about all five senses, being aware of who you are, where you're at. Self-awareness is huge when it comes to identifying the negatives and discovering, because of those removals and that discovery of the negatives, where the positives lie and how excited you can get about that. Well, here's a positive. Ichiro Suzuki, remarkable Major League Baseball player, just retired. And coincidentally, he retires during a game, after a game, that was the same contest as similar opponents when he started. In 2001, when he started, it was the Mariners beating the A's 5-4. You can't write this stuff. This year, the Mariners beat the A's again in 2019. Can you guess the score? 5-4. It's amazing. Going out in a magical way, as he should, because his career started rather late. After being already a physical phenom, baseball par excellence in Japan, Ichiro Suzuki came to the United States at the age of 27. 27. 18 seasons, 18 years in the league. Over 3,000 hits. 22nd all time. His career batting average of .311 ranks 13th highest among 32 players in a 3,000 hit club. The man is a baseball phenom. It just he came into the league. Was in 1982. He surpasses people like Wade Boggs in his efforts. He's a 10-time All-Star. I just can't say enough about someone like this, and in particular Ichiro, because of his character in the dugout. He reminds me, and quite honestly, some of the baseball players that I work with and know have met Ichiro, and like forces unite, like-minded forces unite. So I put Ichiro's mindset right along with Curtis Granderson, I'm not going to mention anymore. I don't need to. But Ichiro was one of the first, maybe the only one, to do this. At an all-star game, Ichiro hit an in-the-park homer to showcase his 2007 participation in the All-Star game. And in that game, maybe because of the in-park home run or not, he was mentioned as and named the most valuable player for that All-Star game in 2007. Ichiro Suzuki. Oh, what a great player he is. And what a big person he is, and will always be. It's just great to talk about people like Ichiro and those who share the common mindset that he does about how to bring the best of who you are to the game. There were many thoughts about Ichiro and his technique. Never a question about how fast he was on the base path and how much ground he could cover in the outfield. But there were always questions about his left-handed hitter, his approach, his stance, his hitting style at the plate. He brought the Asian definition of hitting to the United States, which for some people is hard to duplicate. For anybody else is an American baseball player. And remember, it's our sport. Others have taken it from us. So for others to replicate this kind of success that Ichiro did in Japan and then do that same thing almost at whole other levels within the domestic side of the game in the United States is amazing. It's amazing to see. Now, equally amazing is the dollars that are being doled out to baseball players. And another $50 million, actually two $50 million contracts were issued to two more players. I'm hoping, here's what I'm hoping, is that's a cost of doing business for the franchises. What I'm hoping is it doesn't impact the cost of participation of fans in the stands. And it may. For some franchises, it might. As I understand it, there is no standardization of ticket prices within Major League Baseball. And if there is, it's an unwritten rule. I don't know about it. And then there's the merchandising side of things, food, beverage, and merchandise. I hope it doesn't have much of an impact on the cost of going to a game for mom and dad and the kids. Keep it a family affair. Like one of the reasons I love Rocky Stadium is because it is such a family place to go enjoy the game of baseball. So as we look at our segment number 3, which is on mental conditioning, I'm gonna get to that in just a minute. But as I was reminded this morning, as the weather changes, so does the degree of ache and pain I have in my joints. And I am about to begin a rigorous nutritional plan here shortly, and I'm going to have to take away things like caffeine, an occasional alcoholic beverage, which is occasional. I enjoy it, but I'm going to have to remove that. I have to get rid of blueberries for like almost a month. This is an investigation to see which things cause higher inflammation and immune responses in my body. I want to live a better life. That's why I'm doing it. And one of the things that helps me through the pain and discomfort as I go through it is Empower. For those of you who haven't heard before, try Empower Body Care. Go to empowerbodycare.com and use my code LW010 and try some of the CBD topical solutions for those sore spots. As their label says, put it where it hurts. Empower Body Care products. Love it. Love it. As of today, I reminded myself, well, Henry actually reminded myself of how there's some stuff going out there, some intestinal flus and colds and what have you. One of the things I do almost on a daily, well, not only, almost on a daily basis, I use Germ Block, my germicidal hand lotion, and it is a lotion. It's non-alcohol based, so it feels and acts like a lotion, but it kills all those nasty germs and bacteria that many times you don't know this. It's not on the label. The alcohol-based stuff does not. The alcohol-based stuff is recommended that you wash your hands with soap and water for the friction, and then put that alcohol-based product on. This takes care of that. Now, I'm still saying wash your hands. Okay? Wash your hands. But use Germ Block. That's Germ Block from AvKare. Great stuff. AvKare.com. AvKare.com. That's where you can get Germ Block. Okay. Moving on. And talking about, I want to come back to the nutritional thing, because we're talking about removing the negatives. And I don't know about you, but when I go to a certain environment, like a baseball, I'm excited about opening day for the Rockies. I'm trying to work out my schedule so I can go to extend my business calendar to Florida and go down to Miami and watch the Marlins play the Rockies, because their opening day is at home against the Rockies. As you can tell, the Rockies are not at home for their opening day, the opening day of the season. Their opening day will not be the opening day of the season at home. So I'm going to go down and see that. Now, as I say that, I go, well, I've never been to that stadium before, and I'm probably going to. I will always have my Germ Block with me to take care of the bacteria and viruses that might affect me. And look, I've not been sick. Now, as I say that, and Henry tells me that he had the stomach flu and the yaks and stuff, and it was very painful. I'll probably get some. Nah, I'm not going to do it, because I use good stuff to take care of that. But what I want to explain to you is that the negatives, I'm going to try to discover what foods in my nutritional processes going forward the next few weeks, is to find out what foods are not the best for me. Now, to do that, I got to take things away that I like to see if they may be part of that. We've done some very specific chemical things with, blood and urine tests and that kind of stuff. But that being said, when you go to a new place and you're looking to, if you're vegan, trying to find a vegan restaurant, or if you are someone who doesn't eat meat and you want to find a restaurant for that, and quite honestly, I'm going to be swamped with vegetables because they've taken all the meats away from me for a period of time. It becomes tough. It becomes tough to, number one, identify the negatives. What is you're aware of? What are those negatives? For some of us that have perhaps the lactose intolerant, there you go. Remove the negative. Don't drink milk. Nothing with lactose in it and the sugars. Then there's some of us that have not the most pleasant response to too much sugar or caffeine. It's basically there's degrees of negative as well, especially in the nutritional side of things. Now, when we talk about the seasons that are going to be happening for drafted rookies for football, going into an environment that they've never been to before. And in fact, a surprise, rookies have never been treated the way they're going to be treated at the football franchises. Just like rookies who go down for baseball camp. Whole different scenario. You have to be self-directed, not just self-aware. You got to take action on your own. And all of a sudden, you may discover negatives you didn't know existed. So one of the other ways of being able to take care of removing the negatives after you're aware of where they're at is be prepared to handle change and the changes that will perhaps in itself create a negative. So be very conscientious of what your environment, that's the self-awareness of. Be self-directed so that you have some efficacy, that you know what you're doing, how you're doing it. Football players, here's a short story. I went down and when Crockett Gilmore a few years back went into his rookie season with the Baltimore Ravens, I went down to visit him, and everybody stays in the same hotel. And you get roommates, and rookies get rookies for roommates. Well, that's a discipline, a self-discipline they've never experienced before. They've usually been told, here's who you're going to room with, here's what you're going to do. And, they have the freedom to leave the room, go to the lobby, walk outside. They have their own cars there, but it's clearly stated to them time frames. Up at a certain time, bus leaves at a certain time to go to the practice field for workouts, and so on and so on and so on. Well, some of the rookies don't have the discipline and the maturity that's necessary to maintain themselves to be on time. Party hard too late at night. Should have been back at the room. In fact, there's bed checks. Some of the franchises, they have bed checks at certain, because they want you well rested. They want you to give them their best. Because ultimately, it's playoffs. That's what you're fighting for. That's what you're working for. Playoffs. And in many cases, some of those workers get paid pretty good money to develop and understand it. Well, that's a change in their environment. Well, their behavior most likely could be the negative they got to remove. Staying out too late, not behaving in a way that's representative of what being a pro is all about. So those are some things to be aware of when you're a pro and you're trying to condition yourself mentally to be disciplined, to be self-assured, self-directed, and self-motivated, because mama ain't there to wipe your nose. Nor is a teammate, for that matter, because in many cases you might have a teammate that's fighting for the same position you're or the same roster spot if your contract didn't give you one. Now, that being said, I'm going to get us prepared for in about 5 minutes. Stephanie's going to be here to talk about another way to remove negatives, but in a more specific way. Stephanie Ajakian is just a wonderful massage therapist. She runs her own practice in the Denver metro area. I'll let her talk more about that, but we're gonna bring her thoughts in about how to remove the negatives from a cellular level. What can you do about your daily activities to minimize the distress that the things you eat could do to your tissue in your body? And that many times a massage therapist literally and physically manipulates out of your muscles. I'm learning from my nutritionist, who's been on the show before, Nikki Burnett, that depending on the kinds of foods I eat, and I've been eating for years, there's this years of history, I'm trying to identify what do I need to get out of my system. I've discovered because of I'm not so much that aggressive with it anymore, but red meats, if I was still really actively eating red meats, I'd probably have more of the crystallization within my muscle tissue than what is already there. But there are other foods, since I'm not eating a lot of meats now, there's other foods that will exacerbate, agitate those crystals that are already in my muscles. So right now, when I have aches and pains, and I think it's from a workout that I've had, it may not be from that. It might be from something I ate that's aggravating that. Now, I probably enjoyed it. And it's not that aggressive that I don't know. It's hard for me to determine if what I ate was actually the source of my muscle discomfort and soreness. So I'm going through this process to understand that and bring it to some places where I can feel comfort. Because quite honestly, the bottom line for me in any environment is quality of life. I want a high quality of life. Now, have any of you found out that having a high quality of life is expensive? Holy cow! Now, I'll give you a side story. We're all getting older, right? No news to most of us. Getting older is part of the realities. Young people don't recognize it as quickly as I do, or others that are my age. But we're getting older. So with that, I've been having this ringing in my ears. And I thought, that's a bad thing. I'll just ignore it. Well, it got to a point where it was distracting. And I've realized that, well, there's a medical term for that, the ringing in your ears when it's a constant, and it gets to the point of being distracted, being disruptive to your daily performance, being able to concentrate, maybe you're irritable because of it, which I was all of that. It's called tinnitus. Everybody pronounces it differently. I pronounce it tinnitus. So I went in, got a hearing appointment, hadn't had my hearing checked in years. Good news is, my hearing is fine. Yeah, really, my hearing is fine. You don't have to speak up, you don't have to say it again, even though I'll get disagreement from my family about the last two things I just said. But truly, It's proven. I have numbers to prove it. My hearing is fine. What's not so fine is the volumes I can hear at certain frequencies. So higher pitched things, if you speak in a high pitched voice, I might not hear the tailing off of a word. Now, that is also directly related to the ringing in my ears. So the ringing in my ears as the day goes on, midday into and early mid-afternoon, is the worst for me. I will get a fogginess to my thinking process because I'm so distracted trying to manage that sound. There's actual neurological techniques by using other sounds, what some might call white noise. Have you ever seen those little devices you put by your bed? You push a button and it makes that kind of shh. It's my best imitation of white noise, okay? It's the best I can get. But that's what you create this noise, and then you adjust the frequency to be at or equal to. That's not redundant. It's one is close. The equal to is equal to the sound and volume and frequency of the ringing in my ears, because the ringing in your ears left unmatched by an alternative sound will in fact not only distract you, but might cause you to be irritable, might be fatiguing, as well as cause you what is called brain fog, where you're just not as sharp as you could be. And that's just not a quality of life I accept. So if you are of an age, and there's no age identifier for ringing in your ears or tinnitus, you can have tinnitus at almost any age, but typically at older ages or any age where handling stress has become difficult for you, and especially for people that, if you've got stress in your life, we all do, but stress that's affecting you in this way, and you've also worked in an environment or been subject to environments that have high volume, high frequency and high volume in that frequency of noises, military personnel, because of guns, the shooting of guns without headgear protection, could have ringing in their ears. Obviously, the musicians, music, concerts, that kind of stuff. Machine shops, where there's lots of this big machinery pounding and grinding and sharpening, and it's very loud and it's constant, that kind of stuff. So you've got the pressure on the eardrum as well as the sounds. That can also cause tinnitus. Tinnitus is not necessarily something that can be cured. It can be adjusted for, and you can get what look like hearing aids to help create the noise in your ear that needs to match off to that. But this is something that I've been going through recently that made me be aware of. There are some negatives you can't fully remove. You can only diminish them or match them with positives that remove the impact of the negative on your life. So, looking forward to having Stephanie show up and visit with us today. We're getting close to her popping in, and she's just going to drop into the studio and being with us this morning, talking to us about massage therapy. Let me give you, as a precursor to Stephanie coming in, let me share with you some things I've experienced about massage therapy. And it's kind of like the sound, because the sounds I'm using to mask the ringing in my ears is like I'm massaging back, I'm pushing back against that sound and getting it to neutralize, so the quality of my life is higher. Massage therapy, even though it's a fairly gross mechanical push on the body, it is pushing against soreness or the chemistry that's in your tissue that's creating the soreness and trying to push it out into other areas and dissipate it. So in doing that, you are in effect working at the cellular level. It's moving the muscle tissue, separating the muscle fibers so that you can open it up to circulation, stimulating certain points, pressure points in the neurological systems that then can influence the skeletal system, in addition to what you might be doing as a massage therapist and manipulating the body in a way that's going to realign things, if you will. I know I'm starting to talk a little bit about chiropractors, but um, the the process you go through. This is our last segment of our show is performance results, which talks about process. What's the process you go through to get to certain results? If you're taking advantage of putting yourself, you thought about it, you created a mindset, you're using your natural skills. We talked about food and nutrition and all these different things that you want to make sure you have in your life, that what environment you go into, and that's our mental conditioning segment. You will be able to then apply a process that gets you the results that you look forward to. So, massage therapy is a big part of what I use for myself. Now, that being said, I also try, when I go into a massage, I try to utilize a combination of the massage process and meditation. And one of the key things, because I don't go get massages as routinely as I should, so I wind up having this great distance between moments, and I fill that time in with lots of physical activity and doing things that cause my body to get a little bit sore and punish myself. It's in a nice way. I work out hard. I love to do that. So when I go to the massage therapist like Stephanie, and they're pushing on joints and they're massaging things, the process can have its aches and pains along with it as well, but the end result is very, very pleasant. So when those aches and pains happen, I try to breathe through. I try to meditate into the massage process, and this will sound really corny. I try to be one with the massage. That's funny, you can say that out loud. But a massage can be very, very not only therapeutic, but almost cathartic in body rhythms, making sure that you're thinking through as the massage is going through that you're helping with your awareness of what's going on with the massage therapist, the placement of hands, the pushing of tissue, that you're breathing, you're absorbing that movement and that pressure in your body is effective for you. So I'm a big proponent of that process. I'm sorry, I got distracted. Technology was distracting me. I was looking at I'm waiting for an update from the Miami Marlins about attending the March 30th game down in Miami against the Colorado Rockies. There's a 4-game series that opens up the Marlins series. So for you Rocky fans that are listening, tune in on the Rocky Network on the TV there. Sorry, I should have changed my phone to accommodate what we're going through this morning. The do not disturb. Henry reminds me of this all the time, and I don't do it. 2 reminders today. They come in 3s. I was supposed to turn down the music, didn't do that. Note right there. That's what Henry gives me. That's why he's here. He's the guy. And then I always forget to put on the do not disturb on my phone. So that being said, let me share with you a couple of things. Kind of catch me off guard. Stephanie's a little late. I'm hoping she's going to catch up with us this morning. If not, we adapt and we adjust. So as I say that, I want to remind you of some things that are happening for next week. Next week on the 28th of March, that's a Thursday. I think that's a Thursday. It's the opening day of Major League Baseball season. As I've said already, the Rockies are going to be playing down in Florida against the Miami Marlins. And that opening day is the earliest opening day they've ever had. Typically it's in the first week of April. That's not going to happen. It's March 28th. And with the opening of the season comes all these different kinds of considerations for weather and adapting to the weather. Now, Miami's a whole different story, right? It's not like if you're playing in Cleveland, well, New York City with the Mets, or Boston. Boston's even further north. Or the Mariners in Washington. I think the Mariners, they get a little relief because the Pacific Ocean currents make it a little warmer that time of year, but it's always a possibility that you could get some overcast and some rain. So it's the adapting and adjusting to those conditions are part of the process that you have to be aware of and consider. And guess who just showed up? Have a seat, Stephanie. Put your headphones on. We'll get you hooked in, and the microphone's right there in front of you. As she takes her seat, everybody can see her. Stephanie is a massage therapist, a business owner in the Denver metro area. Stephanie, how many locations do you have?
Just one right now.
But you go see people then, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got the site in Broomfield.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, over by the airport.
Yes.
And then what do they call the service where you go see people? There's a name for it, right? Outcome. So Stephanie, how many folks do you have working with you?
One right now.
Okay. So that, and we're going to get website and all that kind of stuff in just a second. But the tone of what we're talking about is how massage therapy, getting to the cellular level, removes the negative. Because that's our theme for today, is removing the negative. And I was talking about how nutrition is a big part of putting the right things in your body. I'm going through a whole nutritional process to identify what are my negatives. And I hope it's not blueberries because I love blueberries. But in a few weeks, as I was telling my listeners, I'm going to have to get rid of caffeine for like 3 weeks. Is that beer? I have to get rid of beer.
Yeah.
No alcoholic beverages for 3 weeks. I hope that's not going to be a negative at the end of the day. So tell me about how you believe the impact of massage therapy has on removing negatives and what those negatives might be that you're looking at.
Oh my goodness, there's so much. Human touch is incredibly important. I mean, there's studies that have been done on orphans. Actually, there's a woman who did a big study on orphans in India, and she observed orphans who were not touched, and versus those who were massaged by their caregivers. And failure to thrive is almost the leading cause of death amongst infants who weren't touched. Almost 100% mortality.
So the degree of the touch is not just massage, but could be just a hug.
Right, exactly.
Or did I get number 4, Henry? Did I get it? There's the third one. Happens in threes. I forgot to pod up Stephanie's mic. So there's the third one. Okay. I didn't turn down the music. I didn't. Number 4. I got number 4. Oh, over here. Can you hear yourself? Can you hear me? How about now?
Yeah, no, I can hear you.
There we go. Sweet. All right. See, technology is not my friend, but I figured it out. I get it. Okay, so and I love that you do that. But it's not just the superficial view of massage therapy, but there's the cellular level, getting down to and results orientation, behavior changes that happen with kids. Well, that's pure, right? Kids are so dynamic and you touch them, you hug them, you laugh, you giggle, you know it works, right? Yeah. Right off the bat. Yeah. So let's talk about the problem children, adults.
The biggest problem children, right?
So what do you see? I mean, I know there's the obvious, but what do you see as a result of removing the negatives from the adult population?
I don't really get to see or say once they leave what happens, but they usually leave with a better mood.
Yeah.
You can imagine that's good for their relationship.
More smiles going out than coming in.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I like that. Well, and I know for me, I've been talking to my athletes and executives that utilize massage therapy in their lives. That usually for me with athletics, it's soreness someplace, the joints and stuff. Do you feel the results? There's manipulation and adjustment. So you're feeling certain things happen.
Sure.
You know what it feels like when you first touch it, and you continue to touch it, it changes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is that an example maybe of that's reminiscent of removing the negatives?
Yeah, for sure. We carry stress in a lot of places. So when I work at a dock, I can feel it kind of melt away. It's just kind of stress melting away, carrying those emotions there. Yeah. There are things called it's abbreviated SER, somatic emotional release. Yeah. Sometimes you get people who come in and have emotional releases just from working on that muscle tissue.
I was saying earlier before you arrived, I was saying that I try to breathe through with massage therapy, and sometimes, depending on how big the knot is, my breathing becomes a groan. And that's my way of trying to support the massage process. But that being said, are there certain areas of the body that are more prone to the knottiness and the tightness and things you feel that are negatives in the body?
Hips are a place where people carry a lot of stress and carry a lot of emotion. After our dad died, my sister went and got a massage and got really emotional when she was in the hips and her therapist moments where she was holding her grief.
Yeah, well, there's lots of nerve bundling going on.
Between the shoulder blades, those
areas,
neck a lot. We do put a lot of pressure and stress on our necks. I'm a big believer in chiropractic work. I'm a chiropractor myself. I went through a very intense program with him to realign my neck. So using the curve of my neck just from this kind of texting motion, and we're always behind computers and video games, watching TV.
You get kind of that little archy look to your neck because of all that constant dipping.
You take that curve out of your spine.
Yeah. Chiropractic medicine is one thing, but it's that sound. That just cuts right to my deepest part of my soul with a pop of bone.
You gotta find a chiropractor who uses the tools instead.
Oh yeah, that'd be nice.
Yeah, I've got one of those.
It kind of dated me there, didn't it? Well, and what we're talking about, we're talking with Stephanie Ajakian, massage therapist to look at her. So, Stephanie, give them your website. What's your website?
Yeah, it's Bodhi Body Broomfield, which is a mouthful. Bodhi spelled BODHI.
Okay.
.com.
Yeah, awesome. One more time so they get it.
Sure. BodhiBodyBroomfield.com.
See that? 3 B's. And I, from personal experience, it is the place to go. Stephanie is wonderful at what she does and puts a sense of self into the process as well as a sense of pride and passion about the science and not just the process itself. So, removing the negatives is our theme today. We're going to go a couple minutes longer. Last couple of questions, we'll go a little late just because I want to make sure I touch on some things with Stephanie that mean a lot to what we talked about today. And one of those is the connection between nutrition and massage therapy. What do you feel or see that validates that connection between nutritional aspects of people and what you find when you do a massage?
It's really hard, I think, to pinpoint exactly the connection. I mean, wellness is such an all-encompassing thing. When you eat right and you exercise and you massage your muscles and you spend some time meditating and you're just taking care of the entire system altogether. I think that overall picture is a much bigger thing than one thing.
Is skin quality a kind of a way to pinpoint that for you when you look at
it can be
skin and coloration and texture and that kind of stuff? Are there any lines you draw when you see something you stop?
I haven't found that yet. I don't.
Oh no! Don't go there.
Yeah, I haven't found that. I haven't found anything like that yet.
Yeah. Well, the reason I bring it up is because recently there's been a lot of, it's so lame, a rash of commercials about the scaling. You've got the immune deficiencies and you get the scaling on elbows or knees or. Yeah, exactly. So, can someone who has those issues still see a massage therapist?
Yeah, as long as they're not told by their doctor, they can't. And also, what the big thing for us is that we need to know if they're using any kind of topical steroids or creams.
Gotcha.
It's one of the things when we ask on our Facebook, are you taking any medication? People don't think of that as a medication. It's still medication that we need to know about. Any kind of topical hormones or topical steroids, topical antibiotics, antifungals, anything like that.
So one of the simple things is shower before you show up.
Yeah.
It's a good first step before you go see any massage therapist, in particular Stephanie Ajakian. I love talking to you. I want to we'll get you back more frequently, but we're out of time for today. Give me one more time. Give everybody the contact information, how they can get in touch with you for their own massage.
Yeah, it's BodhiBodyBroomfield.com.
And should they use that exclusively to schedule appointments, or is there other ways to schedule?
They can call our studio.
Okay.
Our number is 720-295-0896, and we do have a first complaint special.
I like that.
So
This woman entrepreneur is very good at specials. They're some of the best little cards I've ever gotten. And I have one sitting on my desk. It looks so good. I just haven't used it. Yeah, I just haven't used it. So check out Stephanie in Broomfield at her studio. Once again, this is 360 Performance. I'm Lowell Whiteman, your host of 360 Performance on KUHSdenver.com every Friday at 11. Thanks everybody for joining me on Facebook Live and out there in our Ustream feeds in the universe as we know it. Have a great day today and be well and be right as much as you can. Have a great day. We're still on that camera. But they can't hear us that much. Turn it down, turn it down, and go to music. So how are you?